From the National Newsroom of the Canadian Press, I'm Jason White. Canadians across the land are celebrating the country's 157th birthday. In Toronto, families celebrated at Thompson Memorial Park. Among them, Bhawan Gamiri hopes Canadians can work together to make Canada a better and safer country.
Less violence, we get along as a country, we get together, work with each other, right? Work with each other rather than against each other.
The national celebrations in Ottawa included a special military flypast and performances by Bedouin Soundclash and Montreal artist Marie May. Down in Washington, D.C., the unmistakable smell of maple syrup and bacon wafted down Pennsylvania Avenue as the Canadian Embassy's Canada Day celebrations recreated a block party north of the international border with food, friends, and family. Canada's ambassador to the U.S., Kirsten Hillman, says today is about celebrating Canadian people and Canadian values.
It's about who we are, and it's about what we want to put out in the world, the values we share with each other and with our neighbors here in the U.S.
It's a message the ambassador's been bringing to both Democrats and Republicans across the U.S. ahead of the November election as the tight presidential race continues. This is Moving Day in Quebec. July 1st is the day when most Quebec leases expire, but advocates say a growing number of people are struggling to find places they can afford. Rents have spiked and rental availability has dropped. Quebec Premier François Legault has blamed temporary immigrants, but advocates say the solution is more social housing and better rent control. U.S. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has denounced today's Supreme Court ruling as, quote, a disgraceful decision. The Supreme Court ruled for the first time that former American presidents have some immunity from prosecution. The ruling all but guarantees Donald Trump won't face trial before the election on criminal charges that he plotted to overturn his 2020 election loss. U.S. President Biden will return to the White House tonight from Camp David, where his family has urged him to stay in the presidential race after last week's dreadful debate.
Dealing with everything we have to do with...
The president sounded raspy and gave meandering answers.
We finally beat Medicare.
And his campaign's been working to keep backers on board amid growing questions from some Democrats about whether he should bow out of the race. 4 people familiar with the Camp David gathering say while the Biden family knows it was a bad performance, the president can recover. Jill and Hunter Biden are urging him to stay in, and he's getting a public show of support from prominent Democrats like Georgia Senator Raphael Warnock, who's also a minister.
There have been more than a few Sundays when I wish I had preached a better sermon.
Warnock on NBC's Meet the Press echoing others who say one bad debate should not offset a lifetime of good service. Sagar Magani, Washington.
This is the Canadian Press. In sports, the Toronto Blue Jays are hosting the Houston Astros, the first of a 4-game series at Rogers Centre. NHL teams were pretty busy in the hours before the opening of free agency. The Vancouver Canucks have signed former Boston Bruins forward Jake DeBrusk to a 7-year contract worth $5.5 million U.S. a season. The Edmonton Oilers have made a series of signings as they look to return to the Stanley Cup Final next season, among them adding former Los Angeles forward Victor Arvidsson to a 2-year, $4 million U.S. contract. And Canada soccer coach Bev Priestman has named her 18-player roster, plus 4 alternates, for the Paris Olympics. And she says it was not easy.
I think the overall squad decisions came right to the wire is what I would say. And obviously some sleepless nights and, digging into fitness data, technical, tactical data.
Canada opens Olympic play July 25th against New Zealand. From the Canadian Press, I'm Jason White.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. For more of today's top stories, visit thecanadianpressnews.ca.